The neon lights of Station Kepler-22 flickered through the observation window as Lewis tightened the final bolt on the freight hauler's engine core. His hands, calloused and scarred from years of mechanical work, moved with practiced precision. He was humanity's answer to the galaxy's most complex problems. A simple mechanic who could fix anything from a broken hyperdrive to a malfunctioning life support system. "Daddy," Anna's voice pierced through the hum of the station's ventilation system. The 7-year-old came running through the workshop, her dark curls bouncing with each step. "Daddy, come quick!" Lewis wiped the grease from his hands and looked down at his daughter. Her brown eyes were wide with urgency, filled with that particular determination that he'd come to recognize. When Anna got that look, something important was happening. "What is it, sweetheart?" he asked, kneeling to her level. "There's a dragon outside. A little one, and it's freezing." Anna grabbed his hand, tugging with surprising strength. "Its mommy looks sick, Daddy. We have to help them." Lewis felt his heart sink. The lower levels of Kepler-22 were notorious for housing the galaxy's displaced, refugees, failed colonists, and species whose worlds had been destroyed by the Great Expansion. He'd seen too many desperate families huddled in the cold maintenance corridors where the station's heating didn't reach. He followed Anna through the winding passages of the station, descending 3 levels below his workshop. The temperature dropped noticeably, and Lewis could see his breath forming small clouds in the air. Most aliens preferred warmer temperatures than humans. It was one of humanity's strange advantages in the galaxy. They could tolerate cold that would send a Xanthari into hibernation or kill a Plessian within hours. They rounded a corner, and Lewis stopped. Huddled against a defunct heating vent was a Draconi female, her scales dulled by malnutrition and cold. The Draconi were a proud species, dragon-like beings who once ruled 3 star systems. But that was before the plague, before their worlds became tombstones. Now they were scattered across the galaxy, struggling to survive in a universe that had no place for them. In her arms, wrapped in tattered thermal blankets, was a child. The little Draconi couldn't have been more than 3 years old in human years. Its scales, which should have been vibrant crimson, were pale pink, almost translucent. The child's breathing was shallow, labored. "See, Daddy?" Anna whispered. "The little dragon is freezing." The mother's eyes opened slowly, vertical pupils focusing on Lewis with a mixture of fear and defiance. She pulled her child closer, a protective gesture that transcended species. Lewis recognized that look, the desperation of a parent who had nothing left but would still fight for their young. "We're not here to hurt you," Lewis said softly, raising his hands. "My daughter's right. It's too cold down here. Let us help." The Draconi mother hissed weakly, but there was no real threat in it. She was too exhausted, too cold. Lewis could see the frost forming on her scales, see the way her body trembled with the effort to generate warmth for her child. "Please." Anna stepped forward, her small hand reaching out. "We have a warm place. My daddy can fix anything." Something in Anna's innocent sincerity broke through the mother's defenses. Her eyes filled with tears, a rare thing for Draconi who could only cry when near death. She nodded, barely perceptible. Lewis didn't hesitate. He removed his thermal jacket and wrapped it around the mother, then carefully lifted the child. The little Draconi was lighter than he expected, its body cold to the touch despite its species' normally high body temperature. This wasn't good. They made their way back to the workshop, Lewis setting a pace that was quick but not jarring. Anna stayed close to the Draconi mother, offering small words of encouragement, helping support the weakened alien as they climbed the stairs. Once inside the workshop, Lewis cranked the heating to maximum. Humans could tolerate it. They'd adapt. He cleared his workbench and laid the child down gently, then turned to his medical kit. It wasn't much, mechanics weren't doctors, but he'd learned enough emergency xenobiology to keep his diverse clientele alive when accidents happened. "Anna, get the thermal blankets from the emergency locker," he instructed. "The silver ones, not the blue." While Anna rushed to obey, Lewis examined the child. Hypothermia, malnutrition, and something else, an infection in the respiratory system. Draconi were susceptible to bacterial infections in cold environments, something their species had never evolved to fight because their homeworlds were volcanic and hot. "I need to get you both to medical," Lewis said, looking at the mother who had collapsed into a chair near the heater. "But first, we need to stabilize your daughter." The mother's translator implant crackled to life, her voice weak but clear. No credits, no, nothing. Cannot pay. Louis looked at her, then at Anna, who had returned with the blankets. His daughter was carefully wrapping the little dracony, talking to the unconscious child in soothing tones, promising that everything would be okay. Humans don't work like that, Louis said firmly. We help because we can, because it's right. He administered a broad-spectrum antibiotic, adjusted for dracony physiology, then set up an IV drip of heated saline to combat the hypothermia. It was a trick he'd learned from an old Earth military manual. Sometimes the simplest solutions were the best. Over the next 4 hours, Louis worked. He used every tool in his workshop, every piece of knowledge he'd accumulated over 20 years of working with alien species. He jerry-rigged a heating pad from thermal coils, created a humidifier from his parts cleaner, and even synthesized a nutrient paste using Anna's science kit and some exotic elements he kept for welding. Anna never left the little dracony's side. She held its tiny clawed hand, sang human lullabies, and told stories about Earth, a planet she'd never seen but that Louis had described to her countless times as dawn broke over Kepler-22, or what passed for dawn. On a space station, the little dracony opened its eyes. They were bright and alert, the pale scales already showing hints of proper crimson. The child looked at Anna and made a small chirping sound, a dracony expression of contentment. The mother wept openly now, no longer near death, simply overwhelmed. She looked at Louis with something beyond gratitude, with understanding. Why? She asked simply. Why help us? We are nothing to your species. Louis glanced at Anna, who was smiling as the little dracony nuzzled against her. He thought about all the reasons the galaxy saw humans as strange. Their stubborn refusal to abandon lost causes, their tendency to adopt anything that needed help, their bizarre pack bonding with creatures that sometimes tried to eat them. Because my daughter saw someone who needed help, Louis said, and because humans have a bad habit of caring, we can't seem to break it. He stood and extended his hand to the dracony mother. I've got connections at the refugee center. We'll get you proper housing, medical treatment, and work if you want it. Station always needs people who can handle high-temperature environments. The mother took his hand, her scaled grip firm despite her weakness. In that moment, she understood what much of the galaxy was slowly learning. Humanity's strength wasn't in their weapons or their ships. It was in their stubborn, reckless compassion. It was in mechanics who would spend all night saving strangers, and in little girls who saw dragons where others saw problems. Thank you, she whispered. Anna beamed. See, Daddy? I told you the little dragon just needed help. Louis ruffled his daughter's hair and smiled. Another day on Kepler-22, another life saved. It was, he thought, a very human thing to do. And in the cold corridors of space where countless species fought for survival, that humanity made all the difference.